Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Cable. I'm happy to be here with Jon Carlson. Jon, how are you doing today? It's a little frosty this morning.
Oh my goodness, it is cold. Other than that, I'm doing great today, and as always, it's a pleasure to chat with you, Brad.
It's great to have you on. Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, who you work for, and what you do, Jon?
Yeah, you bet. So, who I am, I'll start with that. I have been most of my career in the contact center space, so the outsourcing and customer service call center technology realm for many decades now. Right now, I work for Ibex Global, and we are a global customer support organization. We have operations throughout the world with talented individuals and great technology that we partner with. ISP organizations is one of our areas of focus to help them improve their customer experience, to bring efficiencies, whatever their objectives are. We get the opportunity of working with them to do that.
Let's kind of get into it, Jon. We had a discussion before this, before we were talking here, and one of the things I loved about you is, you kind of seem like a purist in terms of there's a lot of
Yeah.
noise out there, a lot of things that ISPs are being told they should worry about. But what should they actually be worrying about here in
Oh,
2026?
yeah, that's a great question. So there's no question that there is a lot of noise in the system right now, whether we're talking about funding or expansion or competition, things of that nature. I think, and even it goes back in time, and it will be true into the future, is that organizations have to be grounded in understanding and being responsive to their customers' experience. And it goes through the entire journey that they have from the initial acquisition, bringing them on, setting them up, supporting them if there's any issues, and then ideally, hopefully, keeping them for a long period of time. And really, all the steps, the processes, the people, the mechanics of that have to be super solid, and almost like it's cognizant of the noise that you're describing, but it's almost like not, because it's very focused on what's necessary to acquire and retain and delight that next customer that you're going after.
Well, I think also with policy whiplash here in 2026, I mean, we're constantly
Oh yeah.
inundated with a fire hose of new information, and it can be hard to kind of figure out what's actually important.
Well, and it's so true, Brad, because on the policy side, those are things that have maybe a 6 month horizon, something that we'll know more about 9 months from now. But organizations that are thinking about the customer experience and the customer journey, that is like that's over time, and it has to be progressively be made better. So it's almost like the customer journey exists independent of the policy, but they're co-joined. I mean, they're connected together, if that makes sense.
It does. And so why, I mean, I think you're also a believer, I don't know, but we'll find out in kind of the health of the ecosystem of our industry. Why is it so important for those tier two, tier three providers to remain competitive?
Oh goodness, there's a lot of ways to think about that question, Brad. I'm a fan of competition and the what that brings in terms of value to customers, where customers have a choice. And if we're thinking about homes, for example, they're in rural communities that have been underserved, and you have tier two, tier three ISPs who are willing to make the investment. That's going to drive the success in all kinds of ways for those geographies, for those people, whether they're jobs, whether it's education, whatever it may be. So it's it's almost like, yes, success for those tier two and tier three is super important for those organizations, for those companies, but it's really super important for the service, for the populations that they're servicing, who just have not had the access that they deserve.
That's such a good point, and it's cliche, but it's almost still understated.
Yeah,
It really is impactful for the customers that they serve.
yeah.
Um, how is the reality of growth different from the actuality of growth for these guys?
Yeah. So when I think, you could almost like distinguish between the vision of growth versus what's necessary to get there. So the vision is
Right.
It's the thing that gets everybody excited. It's the PowerPoint presentation, it's the projections of revenue and margin. It's all of those things that kind of define the future. And it's necessary. I mean, you're not going to get somewhere unless you know where you're going. So that's a very, very important step. But it's the mechanics of the day to day that actually allows growth to happen. And that's where I have found in my career where organizations fall short. Like you have to have this mechanism in place to be able to do the things that are necessary this week, next month, next quarter. Not to say that you don't change things, but you have this like defined playbook, if you will, that you operate by and you stay true to. And if you do that, it's like the Japanese philosophy of Kaizen of continuous process improvement. You're just incrementally making things better, and lo and behold, you have a great chance to get to that vision or that end goal that you have stated as what's important to the organization.
So kind of another, that's a great point. And another factor at play is also, just increased competitiveness. Everyone's fighting for the same customers, and there's
Yeah.
more people fighting for them. So how can providers, especially those tier two, tier three, justify the cost of those platforms we see to drive customer retention, customer acquisition? Those cost money. How can they justify those types of costs within their organization?
Yeah, there's no doubt to bring fiber, for example, to the next home. It costs money to do that. There's an investment that's required, and there's an investment required just to operate an organization regardless. I've found the smartest organizations are grounded in data. They understand where they're
Mm.
going to be taking that next capability. What's the measured result that we expect to get from that? Now, you have to make some assumptions built into that, whether we're talking acquisition, we're talking retention, or increasing the tenure of a customer. Those are all things that organizations can measure. So you put the cause, you put the whatever the solution is in place, and what's the outcome of it. And I think if there's the discipline of that over time, then the data supports the justification for the investment in the first place. And then when you want to make your next investment, you just do the same thing again. So there's integrity sort of in the process versus it being, oh, that looks interesting. That looks exciting. Let's go do it. Well, it may not be the right thing to do, or you may not be approaching it the right way.
That's so fascinating. Data-driven decisions really do, correlate to health of organization and things like that.
Yeah.
It's such a great point. Um, Kind of switching gears, John, AI.
Mhm.
I think we should talk about it and how can how can it drive a better customer experience and not just kind of a less personal one? We hear a lot about the benefits, the efficiencies, but I think, let's think about the customer for a second. Um, is it going to drive a less personal experience as well?
Well, there's no question everyone's talking about AI today. And I find it a little bit funny is everyone's talking about it, but they don't know exactly what to talk about, but they know they should talk about it. It's like it's
Sure.
very, very important. What I'm seeing is so personalization as an objective. There's no question that the consumer wants a personal interaction. Okay, they don't want to be seen as a commodity. And if I have a reason to call in my ISP about a service outage or an issue, I want to have a personal touch. Now, personal touch can occur different ways. It can occur through automation, it can occur through a human interaction. On the automation side, it really comes down to has the organization well defined what they believe is the right customer experience for that type of interaction. So that call type. So you have to have a data
Hmm.
behind the scenes that's understanding why are customers calling in, what are the problems, what should we automate, what should we not automate, and where we're automating, do we have the hooks back into the databases of the company that allow personalization to be brought into that experience that the customers are have. So it can be created, but you have to be intentional about the process. The other part that I find fascinating is a sort of a secondary benefit to it. When organizations are disciplined around I call it the customer journey and tools like journey mapping, where you understand the experience from cradle to grave of a customer. You'll figure out the right places to deploy technology and the right way to do it, but you'll also illuminate changes to processes. And maybe there's issues with our website and what information we're marketing that's creating problems on the back end. It has this now secondary benefit of improving the experience, not just by the deployment of technology. The technology is not the solution there.